Morning you guys, it's Karen and I'm here with another ingredient spotlight, and today we're talking about Retinyl Retinoate, which I will refer to from now on as Retinoate. It's just easier. So Retinoate is a really interesting synthetic, so lab-made product that is created by chemically joining the molecules of retinol and retinoic acid together. So you may remember that retinol is converted to retinoic acid eventually in the skin, whereas something like tretinoin is actually retinoic acid and so can immediately attach to the retinoic acid receptors and get to work. So this is retinoic acid and retinol joined together. What then happens when you put it on the skin is it splits apart again, and the retinoic acid can get immediately to work on the retinoic acid receptors, and then the retinol will work a bit later. It will take a bit longer to convert because it needs to convert to retinal and then to retinoic acid. So you might think that's great. What I'll do is I will add some retinol to my tretinoin and I'm sorted. I've got Retinyl Retinoate. Unfortunately, it isn't that simple, and it does need to be done in a lab at particular levels and chemically joining the molecules together. So let's have a look at how this compares to using tretinoin, which we know is one of the strongest and the most effective, or retinol. It's claimed that retinoate is less irritating than any other retinoid or retinol on the market. So that's a huge claim and something that would be of massive interest to all of us using tretinoin, because we know that, you know, a big problem is how much irritation it causes. The second claim is that it's more effective than retinol. In fact, the companies that make, there's only 2 products within, claim that it's 8 times more effective than retinol. And the final claim is that it is more stable than any of the other retinols out there and retinoids, because again, that's a big issue for us. We never know how much active product we've got, and if we've got an active product, because it's so difficult to keep tretinoin and retinol stable. The claim that this is more stable than any other retinoid or retinol product hasn't been tested from what I can see, but I think it is just one of those factual things, if you like, that the chemical bonding of retinoic acid and retinol seems to have made it more stable, but they would need to test that and prove it. So that's something we're just going to have to trust at this point. They say it's less irritating, the retinoids and retinols, and the first study I came across is unfortunately an animal one. They've tested in mice skin that they haven't tested it as in versus retinol or versus retinoid, but they've used the retinoate on the skin and found that they had more hyaluronic acid in their skin, retained in their skin, and less transepidermal water loss, which these are pointers and markers that there is less irritation and dryness. Of course, that would need to be translated into human research to be conclusive. There is another study, however, when we're looking at the claim of how effective this is and that it's much more effective than retinol. So they don't say it's more effective than tretinoin or retinoids, they say it's more effective than retinol. And that actually makes perfect sense, because we know that retinoic acid is the strongest. And so this is retinoic acid plus retinol. So of course it's going to be stronger than retinol alone, because you're adding in a stronger product. With this aspect of the claims, I need less convincing, because like I said, it's got retinoic acid in it. It makes sense that it would be stronger, but you do still need research, because although it's got retinoic acid at the start, you've still changed the chemical structure and made it into a new ingredient, retinoate. So there is a study that has 2 parts to it. It's been done in Korea by a university. I don't know if there is a connection from that university in Korea to the 2 companies that manufacture the Retinyl Retinoate. I suspect there may be, but I can't, it's not obvious to see, but neither of the companies tell you where their products were manufactured, and they don't seem to have done their own studies, but they are quoting research. So anyway, this research was the first part was in 11 women, so a very small study. It was putting 0.06% retinoate on one side of their face and nothing on the other, or placebo on the other, and that was over 6 weeks, I think 6 or 8 weeks, and looking at the results. Then the second half was 22 women, so again a tiny group of women, looking at putting 0.06 again retinoate on one side and then putting 0.75% retinol on the other side and comparing the 2. And the results were that there was a significant improvement in a significantly better improvement in lines, wrinkles and texture on the Retinoate side, which, like I said, would make sense. That's all the research that there is currently. So there's those 3 claims: that it's more stable, which appears to be from the chemical joining, that it's more effective, which makes sense because it has retinoic acid in it, and that it's less irritating. And that would be the one I'd be really interested to see more research on. So with regard to products, there only seems to be 2 out. The first one is by Verso, Verso. I'd never heard of them before finding this Retinoate product, and it's called Nighttime Nourish, Verso Nighttime Nourish. And the Retinoate is about halfway down the list of some really good ingredients. We're not looking for a high percentage, because remember those trials were in 0.06% of Retinoate, so that's okay. There's some wonderful feedback on this product. I think you can also get a lip and an eye cream in the Verso range, and the ingredient that is the Retinoate, they're calling Retinyl 8, and I think that would refer to the fact that the claim is that Retinoate is 8 times more effective than retinol. I'm not sure where the 8 times comes from. It may come from the fact that retinoic acid is known to be much stronger than retinol, but I don't think there's ever been a clear amount established. I've heard it said that it's 20 times more effective than retinol, that it's 8 times more effective. So I guess that's where that comes from. The second product is by Medik8, and I think this is the most popular one, and it's called a Youth Activating Cream. It's 50ml. It's in a beautiful white sort of flat package, but it's a pump bottle, and it's £135. But this one has, again, the Retinoate is about halfway down the ingredients, so no issues there. The ingredients seem lovely. I noted it had BHT in it, which is a harsh preservative, but other than that, there's no major issues with it. There's no, you know, massive amounts of fragrance and alcohol high up on the list, etc. So it does seem like a really lovely product. it seems to be so expensive. I mean, I guess tretinoin, so retinoic acid, is a fairly expensive ingredient anyway, and then you've got to you know, employ somebody to chemically join them and produce the retinoate. So I guess that's why it's so expensive just now. I will definitely be on the lookout to see if anybody comes out with a less expensive version. Obviously, the first people I think of is Deciem, and I hope that they come out with a retinoate. It's definitely an ingredient that I would encourage you to try. You know, if you are thinking about buying this and you have the money to buy it, I don't see why not. The only thing about it, and this is the same with everything, is that of course there hasn't been, you know, long-term studies done on retinoate, and although there's studies done on retinoic acid and retinol, as you'll know from your chemistry lessons at school, combining 2 things can sometimes create problems, you know, and so there may be issues down the line that you don't know about by combining the 2. And unfortunately, unlike with the number 7 serum, I don't have a less expensive alternative to the Retinoate, other than if you watched my skincare video, perhaps spreading your bets in the way I do, it does cause less irritation. And so by that I mean I use tretinoin once a week, and then I've got some other weaker retinol products that I use on other nights, and so you're sort of doing the same thing. They're not chemically joined, but you are still using retinoic acid and retinol, and therefore reducing the irritation, but still getting the effectiveness of the tretinoin and the retinol, and therefore the stability may work in one of those, you know. So I think that's all there is to tell you about it. I'd love to hear from anybody that's used it, and anybody that can afford to buy it. I suspect that a lot of people will buy it, love it, and then be like, damn it, now I've got to keep on buying this, because that, like I said, would be my concern, that it's not like you've just got to buy it once. I mean, maybe it will last a long time, but it is a cream. It's not something that you just put on lines. It's a night cream, so you're going to put it all over your face and neck, so it's not going to last that long, you know. I know that my tretinoin runs out quicker than everybody thinks it should, but that you're supposed to use a pea-size amount, and then your moisturiser goes on top, whereas these products are actually moisturizers with the product in them, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'll link the 2 products for you, and I'll link the 2 research studies I talked about for you as well. I'll tell you what I've got on. I have got on the L'Oreal True Match foundation, that one I said I'm trying to use up, and it's in 2N. On my eyes, I've got a NYX palette called I Love You So Mochi, I think it's called, M-O-C-H-I, something like that. I'll put it in the description. On my cheeks, I just added a bit of blush because I felt I looked really pale, and I used this one. It's the Illamasqua blush in Lover. On my lips is Stila liquid lipstick in Caramello, and then I used a little bit of my Clarins gloss in 01 on the top. So that's everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.